When the original Grand Theft Auto was released all the way back in 1998, few expected the franchise to go on to sell more than 225 million units and spawn a whole generation of open-world sandbox games. It was simple, overhead, and kinda hard to play. An action game many critics consider to be a novelty. Grand Theft Auto is no longer a novelty. And the games we see these days offer the types of epic 3D environments that were impossible to believe just 2 decades ago. But what if you missed those early days when mowing down pedestrians in San Andreas meant squinting to make out tiny pixels? Then let me introduce you to Riskers, a brand new action game that shares more than a passing resemblance to the crime simulator that started it all. Too bad it's a bit of a novelty. Riskers is the kind of game where if you close your eyes and listen real carefully, you can almost hear the pitch meeting. This mixes the overhead antics of the original Grand Theft Auto with the fast-paced fun of Hotline Miami, and adds in Max Payne's comic book cinemas for good measure. It's not the world's most original action game, but it does a good job of evoking the things people liked about those franchises. Unfortunately, it also mimics a lot of the things people hated. You play Rick Paradise, a former criminal that has managed to turn his life around and get a job as a garbage collector. As luck would have it, Rick stumbles upon a briefcase full of money that was mysteriously discarded into a dumpster. Unfortunately, his luck runs out the moment he realizes that the city's deadliest gang is after him. This sets up a familiar crime thriller where we explore the open world, get to know a wide range of colorful characters, and kill hundreds of mobsters to stay alive. Here's one good thing I'll say about Riskers. It does a good job pretending to be other games. The open world city stuff looks and feels the part, giving us plenty of streets and back alleys to explore between stealing cars and running from the cops. When Rick arrives at his destination, we're treated to missions that play out exactly like Hotline Miami. These are action-packed fights where we race through the buildings, picking up guns and doing whatever it takes to take out the guards. It's all very familiar, but at least the developers didn't screw up the gameplay or the presentation. The problem is, they screwed up almost everything else. Let's start with the city, which may have a name, but I never caught it. That's indicative of everything that's wrong with this location. There's absolutely nothing memorable about it. The streets all look the same, the city blocks are bland, there's no personality anywhere on display. It might as well be a blank slate. Say what you will about the visuals in the first few Grand Theft Auto games, but each city had its own distinct character. The city in Riskers is boring and unremarkable in every way. But at least the Hotline Miami style missions are exciting, right? Think again. Like I said a moment ago, Riskers does a good job with the look and the control. If you only play 1 or 2 missions, then chances are you're going to come away thinking the developers have nailed it. But hold up for a second, because while the game certainly looks the part, it makes a few fundamental mistakes that break the whole damn thing. You see, the thing that made Hotline Miami so popular was how bite-sized it felt. None of the stages were especially long, so you could get in, kill everybody, and get out in just a few minutes. That's not the case with Riskers. Some of these stages will take 15 or 20 minutes, always without any kind of checkpoint. Remember, this is the kind of game where a lone gunman can come out of nowhere and kill you with a single shot. It's one thing to have to replay a 3-minute stage, but it ceases to be fun when you die in the cheapest way possible after 20 minutes of hard work. Instead of being invigorated by the larger missions, I found myself hating the entire experience. As you might expect, Riskers comes with the usual assortment of open-world minigames and side quests. There are people around town that want you to kill a marked target or steal a certain car, which isn't nearly as fun as it sounds. The minigames are also lackluster, giving us the typical race events and fight clubs. Most of these are harmless, but I found the Rampage-style challenge missions to be especially troubling. They'll tell you to kill a certain amount of civilians, and then they'll drop you off in the middle of nowhere with nobody around. You'll spend half the time just searching for one person to kill, let alone 60. It'd almost be comical if it wasn't so damn frustrating. On paper, the idea of merging the original Grand Theft Auto and Hotline Miami sounds like one of those things that can't go wrong. But it does, in a whole bunch of frustrating ways. This is a crime thriller with a bland story set in a boring city filled with missions that go on for entirely too long. Risker's looks and acts the part, but it fails to capture what made those other games memorable in the first place. Hey, thanks for watching our review. So here's the question of the day. Do you want to see Rockstar make another overhead Grand Theft Auto game? The last time they did one was back in 2009 with Chinatown Wars, which a lot of people really liked. Personally, I'd like to see them do an overhead Red Dead game. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Speaking of which, I just got my hands on a preview build of the Super Retro Cave. So if you have any questions about that, please check out my full video and let me know. I'll be answering a bunch of questions in the near future, so ask away. In the meantime, I recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.